So you're thinking about moving to a place with beaches, great food, fun, culture, and you're considering San Diego or Miami. Well, in this video, we're going to take you into each of these cities and contrast and compare them, how they stack up against one another. Because on the surface, they have a lot of the same offerings in terms of sunshine, beaches, etc., but they really couldn't be any more different. So to understand it, stick with me because we're going to jump into it right now. All right, let's kick this off talking about Miami, which feels extraordinarily international in a beautiful way. I mean, it has richness in terms of culture and so many people from so many different parts of the world. And all these people, of course, bring their food, their music, their culture, all of it to make Miami one of the best locations for diversity. Now with that, also the culture of nightlife. And I'm not talking about nightlife that ends at 10 p.m., 11, 12 if you get crazy like in San Diego, but rather the type of nightlife that sometimes doesn't get started until 1 a.m. It wouldn't be awkward or different or strange to start your dinner 9 p.m., 10 p.m., or to watch that sunrise at the end of your festivities. So Miami definitely brings that. You know, I don't know if you know this, I'm from Mexico City and we are used to that kind of thing, right? I mean, our weddings, as an example, often serve breakfast at sunrise, and in Miami you get a lot of that kind of energy. So if that's the sort of thing you're into, that liveliness, you're absolutely going to see more of that in Miami than you are in San Diego, which by the time they're even starting dinner, we're probably asleep already, having come back from our night out. Now, one of the things that strikes me immediately about Miami versus what I am used to here in San Diego is how flat the place is. Okay, so in terms of if we're talking geography, topography, and if we're talking about weather, it is, of course, located at the southern tip, the eastern southern tip of Florida, and it is hot. It is humid. Summers are arguably unbearable. And a lot of people that live in Miami, when it comes to summertime, look to get out to a little bit of a cooler climate. But having said that, what really gets me if I'm traveling through Miami, which I've been to several times and I'm actually headed back there again, it's a great city, but I can't help but notice how darn flat the place is. Being used to be the western states where we have mountains and hills and canyons, and if that's part of what you're used to, that's part of what you love when you're experiencing just your general surroundings, well, you won't see any of that there. If you want to catch a view in Miami, you have to go up on a big building, and they have plenty of them. They have a lot more high rises there than we do in San Diego. But the lack of hills, mountains, topography of any kind definitely is, in my view, a negative. Now, having said that, it means you can take some easy runs. It means that you could bike ride far because, again, everything is just simply flat. So if you're looking for the silver lining in it, then there you go. Let's finish off the lifestyle and culture segment with talking about food and art, events, festivals, two of my favorite things. So the food, you have a deep influence from Cuba, from Haiti, and from most of Latin America, Argentinian food, Brazilian food. There's just a real diversity of how much you get versus, and authentically, right, versus what you might in most other parts of the United States. Now, San Diego is great, but mostly in terms of, when it comes to Latin American food, we have a very heavy Mexican influence in terms of our food, but definitely there's just more variety, and you're going to see higher end restaurants. It's a little bit more of a foodie scene if you're talking Miami. Now, from an arts and events festival standpoint, they have amazing events there. No one could ever take that away from them. From the Miami Carnival to Calle Ocho Festival, they have Latin roots. And of course, one of the biggest festivals in the nation, which is Ultra, the just gigantic EDC festival if you're into that electronic music scene. So they say it's a have to attend at least one time event. Never been, but I know it is absolutely gigantic, and every DJ you can think of on the planet is there. So again, if that's your thing, Miami, that just starts to scratch the surface on it too, by the way, because of course they have the Marlins, they have the Miami Heat, they have the Miami Dolphins. So also just more sports than we have here in San Diego. Now, having said that, their fans are the warmest weather fans you could ever get. I mean, I'm talking when they're not winning, empty stadiums, empty arenas, and so there's a lot to be left to be desired there. Though I didn't mention probably the hottest ticket, not just in town, but across the country right now, which is their MLS team with Lionel Messi, who now plays for the professional soccer team in Miami. Now let's transition over to focusing more on San Diego, which is much more when it comes to the beaches and the natural, its geography and taking advantage of it. It's a surf culture. It's more laid back than Miami. It's sleepier, but in kind of such a great way. I mean, at the end of the day, who really needs to be out at some bar at 3 in the morning? I certainly don't. If in San Diego, you could do it all. You can have it all. You can have a great dinner, be at a great night, enjoy great nightlife. But you could also be back home by midnight sleeping and, just done. Or you might have been at a nice day party and be back home by 9, 10 p.m. sleeping like a baby. I prefer that personally. Maybe it's just because I'm getting old. But where the majority of that, just by the way, happens in San Diego, Pacific Beach may be the most known party area in San Diego. And this isn't about parties, just about being lively, right? Nightlife, the bar scene, restaurant scene. But downtown San Diego, Gaslamp, also, of course, very well known. But you really end up having it all a way up the coast. So whether we're talking about La Jolla, it has its spots, Del Mar, so even the fancy areas, including Solana Beach, Encinitas, Carlsbad, Oceanside, they all have it. So you could travel right up the coast and run into unique little towns that all have their own environment, their own nightlife, their own offerings. And it is really nice because you almost get the sense that you can have a very different experience every time that you're out in San Diego. Now, our outdoor activities, I think we absolutely crush it when we compare to Miami, just because we have so much more diversity in terms of our environment. We could be skiing in the mountains, surfing in the ocean, and literally cap the night off in the desert, all within the same day if you really wanted to. Of course, I would suggest you spend some time at each location. But we have mountains, we have hiking, we have mountain biking, we have camping, we have, of course, a plethora of beaches. And while our water is a lot colder than what you find in Miami, our waves are also bigger, they're better for surf, and you just get this much more interesting fabric of the things that you can do in terms of outdoor activities. Not to mention, of course, there is an entire world of people out there that enjoy the equestrian scene and that get out to the desert. You're talking dune buggies, you name it, you can do it. San Diego really has an advantage over most locations across the nation in terms of how much you can do if you're an outdoors person. Also, not to mention the fact that we can do these things year round because we don't become 100 and something degrees and more than 100% humidity like Miami in the summer. Or we have this beautiful climate, all about it, but essentially we have, if you're talking winter, goes from the 50s into the 60s, and summer from the 60s into the 80s. And we get to enjoy what we have all year round. So it's also a big advantage. And not to mention the fact that our yards, okay, when it comes to people's living environment in Miami, they literally have these like mosquito kind of outdoor tent covering things. So you're like in your backyard, but you're inside, kind of like in a greenhouse kind of setup. It's wild. Look it up. While in San Diego, you're just simply outside. You're not worried about being bitten up by the mosquitoes or getting whatever it is that's out there. Zika virus, you name it, right? Like, it's just not a concern over here. Not to mention the fact that an alligator's not going to eat your dog. Just a few more things about San Diego that really are wonderful. We have a great craft beer scene. We have the San Diego Zoo. We have SeaWorld. We have Sunset Cliffs, which you have to go out and just experience for yourself. It is a beautiful natural setting that you cannot beat, let alone the La Jolla Cove. Just the beauty of San Diego, the views you get. Look, there might be more to do from a cultural standpoint in Miami, but what there is in terms of just the sheer beauty of the landscape, San Diego's going to take the cake on that one. Hey, by the way, I'm Dan Beer with Beer Home Team at eXp Realty. If you have any real estate questions, any questions about the environment here, anything, there's people just like you that every single day are reaching out. We're replying because they're reaching out via text message, email, phone, or setting up a Zoom call, and I love doing it, just helping you make that smooth move. So whether you're doing it in 9 days, your move might be in 9 months, or it might be in 9 years, but you have a question, make sure you reach out. We've pinned easy ways for you to reach us in the comments and in the description. So head on over there. And also don't forget to tap that bell for notifications and subscribe to the channel so you're the first to know of anything that changes in the San Diego market. Now let's talk about industry, jobs, what drives these two economies. Now clearly tourism is huge for both, though it does show up in different ways. In Miami, it is known as actually the cruise capital of the world, with so many destinations taking off for the Caribbean and even into South America. But with that, and just the way it's positioned, it has such proximity not only to Mexico, but to South America and even into the East, right? Whether it be to Europe, to Africa, it is a central hub for trade. huge. In fact, if you've ever been on the beach in Miami, and I'm trying to remember exactly what beach it was. I believe when you're in South Beach, you see the massive cargo ships coming through with just containers after containers, thousands of them every day. So it is a huge trade hub. And that, of course, drives a lot of the industry that's there. Now, here's something really interesting. Miami is actually referred to as the financial capital of Latin America. So in the South, in the southern states of the United States, Charlotte has a huge banking industry. But Miami, despite the fact that it's in the United States, but it has so many Latin American banks that it's again referred to as the Latin financial capital. So just really interesting in terms of just how really just connected it is to the economies of other nations right here in this country, right in Miami. In fact, there are over 70 international banks operating in the city. And with Florida's tax rules, which basically no income tax in Florida, state income tax, it's also become a hub for startups, for techpreneurs, and it's attracting a lot of that crowd that traditionally might have been attracted to Silicon Valley, but for various reasons, policy, taxes, etc., are being attracted to cities like Austin, are being attracted to cities like Miami. And then finally, as you probably know, there are so many people that retire in Miami. And so with that, it just makes sense that it is also a big industry for healthcare. There's a lot of healthcare companies, biotech research companies that are also positioning themselves in Miami in order to serve that market. Let's shift our attention now to San Diego, where the military, the Navy and Marines specifically, create so much employment throughout San Diego County. There are huge bases, including the largest naval base on the West Coast. And of course, there's Camp Pendleton for the Marines, which you've likely heard of. And it's no wonder why Top Gun was literally focused and shot in San Diego, parts of it, because it is just that big. It is something that you feel throughout the community, that we have pride in, and that is celebrated consistently at our sporting games and really any time that there's any kind of large gatherings. So we have this wonderful, not just employer, but also a culture of just appreciating all that this country has done for us and the people that have done it for us. There are also huge defense contractors that employ a lot of people across San Diego County, such as Northrop Grumman, BAE Systems, Lockheed Martin, and the sorts. So big in terms of a military presence, both on the private side and the public side. Now, biotech, of course, is huge here too. There's an entire biotech corridor. UCSD area is company after company after company, many of which you can find being traded on the public markets, and that have so many of the key discoveries that we enjoy in our healthcare system now are rooted and come from San Diego County. Now, of course, tourism is a big deal here. In the summer, we actually get flooded by people from all of the hot states, Nevada, Arizona. So it drives people here because they're looking for that temperate climate that we just enjoy. And of course, there's also things like Legoland, SeaWorld, the zoo, that drive a lot of people to come here to San Diego. And often they're just coming for the beauty of the place, which I've covered thoroughly already on this video, so I'll just flash through that. But tourism is a big deal and drives a lot of people to our county. And sometimes it's also used as a gateway into Mexico, as we do share a border with Mexico. And there's even Mexican wine country, which is this blossoming area. I think I want to do a video on it for sure, so look out for that one, or let me know in the comments if you want to see it, on Mexican wine country, which is this amazing place burgeoning with just Michelin star restaurants and some of the greatest, it's one of the best foodie scenes on the planet, just an hour and a half down the road. And so again, that'll bring people from Northern California, from across the western states into San Diego, and then they make their way down. And of course, we're known also for our tech industry, particularly Qualcomm, which has always been headquartered here and one of the biggest employers in our county. But also you have companies like Apple buying gigantic campuses and moving thousands of employees here, Amazon doing the same. So you see that tech industry really starting to grow and grow in San Diego as some of it gets away from Northern California, Silicon Valley, and they try and find a little bit of friendlier waters, and also just with their growing businesses. And then, of course, from a higher education standpoint, we have UCSD and the UC system, which is one of the best systems across the nation in terms of public schooling. San Diego State, Cal State San Marcos, USD, a private school. And so there really are no shortages in terms of options for higher education. But from an economic standpoint, those schools, of course, employ so many people, thousands of people. And then the rest of it in San Diego is really just tapped off with the financial markets, of course, the tourism industry that I just mentioned. But entrepreneurs such as just small business people, real estate people, etc., attorneys, legal, all those traditional industries. But these other ones I've mentioned drive the most employment. Let's take a look at the real estate, but also what you earn in order to pay for that real estate. Median household income in Miami is just over $60,000, while in San Diego, $106,000. Again, that's household median income. So with that comes the real estate. $580,000 in Miami, median price point for a property, while in San Diego, on a single family home, I should mention, is right at $1 million. So our real estate's more expensive, our people make more money, you have a little bit of a trade-off. Though of course in Miami, those people don't pay state income tax, keeping some of that money, additional cash in their pocket, and that does go a long way. While in San Diego, that state income tax can range anywhere from as low as 1%, but as high as 12% in the upper income brackets. Now, rents are not so dramatically different. Rents in Miami, right over $2,570 on average for a 2-bedroom place. San Diego, $2,995. So there you have it. Now, here's what I say. Let's continue the debate in the comments. Drop into the comments. What do you think? What's the better city? Why do you think so? Or what questions do you have that we haven't explored on this video that we think we should debate in the comments down below? Also, remember to subscribe. I'll see you on the next video, but make sure you tap that bell for notifications so you're the first to be in the know. I'm Dean Beer. We'll see you on the next one.